answer would you pick for the first one? Completely factor down x squared minus 16. Would it be A, B, C, or D? Who says A? B? C? It is C. Good. That's the difference of squares. So that would just be x minus 4 and x plus 4. For the second one, what is the value when x equals -1? So we just need to put a -1 in every place where you see an x. So you're just typing that in your calculator essentially. That would be -1 minus 3. And then -1 plus 6 times -1. And that's all divided by -1. So I'll give you a moment to select your answer, A, B, C, or D. All right, who picks A, B, C, D? It would be D. This gives you a -4. This is -7, which gives you positive 28 divided by -1. Because when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So your answer would be D. All right, so we're going to continue adding and subtracting fractions. So go ahead and take out your notes and go to page 8. So the questions we're doing today, we need to factor first. So we have to start by factoring one of our denominators. So when you factor x squared minus 4, that's a pattern. So what multiplies to give you x squared? That would be x times x. What multiplies to give you 4? That's 2 times 2. One has to be addition and one has to be subtraction. So that means that this first fraction is really x over x plus 2, x minus 2. I'm going to bring down the plus sign and then write my second fraction. So when you're figuring out your LCD will be both factors. So my least common denominator has to have both fractions, both factors. It needs to have an x plus 2. It also needs to have an x minus 2. So when we're looking here, notice that this fraction has 2. This one only has 1. What is this one missing that I have up here? X plus 2, good. So we're going to multiply this fraction by x plus 2. So we're going to make our fraction bar. We know our denominator. And now let's just go across the top and highlight everything. So x plus 1 parentheses x plus 2. That's what you're going to put on top. It'll be x plus 1 parentheses x plus 2. If you get to that step on the test next week, I am very happy. You get most of the points. To get the last couple points, we just need to simplify the numerator. So we're going to distribute a 1. And that would be x plus 2. And that's all over x plus 2, x minus 2. All right, last one. Our fraction, this is our final answer. We have the x plus 2 and x minus 2. These are like terms, so we can add those together. What do we get when we add the x and the x? What is x plus x? Not x squared. That would be x times x. So x plus x, we're just adding the numbers. So that would just be a 2x. And bring down the plus 2, and that would be your final answer. So that's what we're practicing today. We got a few more, and then we'll work on our homework together. Any questions about, what is this, letter C? All right, let's go to D. First thing you're going to do is factor. So the ones we did on Monday, or not Monday, Tuesday, we didn't have to factor. All of these we have to factor first. So now we have this that needs to be factored. Can I do a shortcut to factor that? Who says yes? Who says no? No shortcut because A is not 1. So we got to make our box. We kind of struggled with that yesterday on our skills check. So I need two numbers that multiply to be 5 times 2, which is 10, and add to -7. They multiply and add. So I'll give you a couple minutes, or not minutes, we don't have minutes, but I'll give you about 30 seconds to see if you can figure out what would be my two numbers. They multiply to give you a +10 and add to give you a -7. So we know both numbers have to be negative. That's the only way to get a +10 and a -7. So we would have to use -5 and -2. So I'm going to put a -5x in one and a -2x in the other. So we're ready to take out our GCFs. The top row, we can take out a 5x. The bottom row, a -2. The first column, just an x. The second column, just a -1. So now that we have it factored down, I'm going to rewrite this with the factors. So again, your LCD has to be both. I need both factors. So my LCD has to have the 5x -2 and the x -1. So looking here, this has both, but this second one is missing one. What am I missing on my second fraction? The 5x -2. So we're going to multiply only that second fraction by 5x -2. So when you figure out which one you're multiplying, you'll only have to multiply one. We'll have our 5x -2. And then again, I'm just going to go straight across the top and list everything that I have there. So the first thing I have is an x. So I'm going to put that here. The next thing I have is a minus. So I'm going to put that next. And then I have a 2. So I'm going to put that next. And then right next to the 2, I have a parentheses. 5x -2. So I'm going to put that next. So from here, we would distribute. So I have x, and then make sure you remember this is negative. So I'm taking a negative 2 times 5, which gives me a negative 10x. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. This has an invisible 1 right here. So go ahead and combine your like terms. That would be these two. Figure out what you get when you do 1 minus 10. And you should get a negative 9x plus 4, and that's all over your LCD. And that would be your final answer. All right, so we've done 2. We're going to do a few more. How are you all feeling so far after 2? Thumbs up, sideways, down, where we at? As long as we understand the process of how to get the common denominator. All right, let's look at E. So one of these needs to be factored. That would be this one. So I'm going to give you a moment. Go ahead and factor that off in that box. We can do a shortcut, so that's easier. So you're going to need 2 numbers that multiplies to be 12. And it adds to give you a 7. Hold on one second. You got it? All right, hold on to it for a second. We got a couple people still thinking. All right, what you all think the numbers are? Isaiah?
Positive 3 and positive 4.
Yep, positive 3, positive 4. So that means that I can rewrite this. So my 2 over x plus 3, that doesn't change. And then it's minus 1, and I'm just going to write that in the factor form. So my LCD has to be both. So which fraction am I going to multiply? Is it the first fraction or the second fraction? This is the first fraction. This is the second fraction. So which one am I multiplying? Show me with your fingers. Fraction 1 or fraction 2? Yep, fraction 1. Fraction 1 is missing the x plus 4. So I'm going to make my fraction, put my x plus 3, x plus 4 in the bottom. And now we're going to highlight. I'm going to highlight going straight across and put everything that I see upstairs on my new numerator. So I'm going to start off with this 2. So let's put that in the top. And then right next to the 2, I have a parentheses with an x plus 4. So I'm going to put that next. Then there is a minus sign that's kind of hiding, but it's right there. That goes next. And then lastly, there's a 1. And that's at the end. So take a minute. I just want you to distribute the 2 and then combine your like terms. And you'll be done. So you're taking 2 times x and 2 times 4. So 2 times x would be 2x. And then 2 times 4 is 8. Bring down the minus 1. And now this time our like terms would be the 8 and the minus 1. So 8 minus 1 is 2x plus 7. So now I'm done. I'm about to write my answer. So my numerator is 2x plus 7. My denominator is my LCD. And that would be my final solution. All right, I am skipping 1. I'm going to the next one. So I think that's G. And then we'll end there and we'll start working through some of the homework together. All right, so let's look at G. We have something to factor, so let's factor that down. I'll give you all a minute to factor it down. We can do a shortcut. So you got to find your 2 numbers. And you kind of have a hint, though, because you know that one of yours is going to be x minus 3. So we just got to figure out what the other one is. So you can kind of use that to help you. 2 numbers that multiply to give you a negative 15 and add to give you a positive 2. So those numbers would be negative 3 and positive 5. So I'm just going to rewrite this first one as 2x over. I just like to write that in factor form because it's easier to figure out what our LCD is if it's factored. So this is going to be x minus 3, x plus 5. All right, show me with your fingers, which fraction do I have to multiply? 1 or 2? Yep, it's the second one. The second one is missing the x plus 5. Okay, so let's finish this on out. So I have my fraction, and I have my x minus 3 and my x plus 5 at the bottom. And now we're going to start writing what we see across the top. So the first thing you're going to put on the roof is a 2x. The second thing that goes on the roof is a subtraction sign. The next thing that goes on the roof is a 7. And right next to the 7, we have a parentheses x plus 5. So let's go ahead and simplify this. Remember, you're multiplying a negative 7 now, not a positive 7. So take a minute, multiply that negative 7. So you're going to take negative 7 times x, and then negative 7 times positive 5. And then combine your like terms, and you are done. All right, so when we take that negative 7 times x, that would be a negative 7x. And then don't forget, a negative times a positive is negative. So negative 7 times positive 5 is negative 35. So these are our like terms. And we have to figure out what we get when we take the 2x minus 7. And then our final answer would be negative 5x minus 35 all over my LCD. All right, so now let me ask again, how you guys feeling? Thumbs up, sideways, down, where we at? All right, we don't have no down, so that's good. Just takes practice, like with everything. Like, I can't think of anything in life that you get good at without practicing. I really can't think of anything. All right, so let's take out your homework. I did move the due date for homework I moved it back to Tuesday. So now that homework is due on Tuesday, not